Hi there, welcome to or welcome back to Tiff Reads Books, where I read books and then talk to you about them. This week, instead of weekly wrap, I thought I would do a weekly vlog. I had a really busy week at work, and I am going to talk about this again in a second, I think, while I'm sitting in the car, but I basically wanted to do a what I realistically read and how I read when I'm having a busy week at work. So this is actually the most books I've read. Like this week, I plowed through a ton of stuff and read more than I had read the whole month. I think prior to the start of this week, I had finished 2 books this month, and it was like the middle of April. So let's get into the vlog, and I'll see you on the other side. Okay, it's Monday. I'm looking a little disheveled, but I'm on my way to the lake for field work, and I thought it would be fun to do a here's what I read in a week where I am working nonstop. I have my field work started, and I have some sampling that I'm doing at work, so I am busy. I've been at work since 9 this morning. It's 12:50. I'm about to drive out to the lake to set some nets, and I've got about an hour drive ahead of me, so I'm going to be listening to The Lotus Empire. I'm 2 hours in and obsessed and need to finish it. So more than likely I'm going to finish this week. I'm also reading physically The Sword of Kaigen, and I want to see, I've got about 300 pages left. I want to see how many pages I can get this week. But this is going to be a realistic what I read in a week while I'm working and not pushing myself to read for content. So I've just seen a couple videos lately that have been like, if you're like not doing this for a job, there's no reason that you're reading 100 books a year. I read 100 books a year before I started doing BookTube, just because I wanted to, and that's just what I read because I am an audio consumer. I'm in the car a lot for work, and I read a lot of audiobooks. I've been a little slow this year, but I have already read 52 books this year. Majority of them through audio and some graphic novels and manga, which I do count as books. So however you want to take that. But I do read. This is why. So we're going to learn why I get so much reading done, and how I do that. So I've got 3 days where I've got to drive to the office, which I work almost an hour from home, and then I've got to drive an hour to the lake, and then if I'm stuck in traffic on the way home, it's going to be 2.5 hours to get home. So we're going to go through how many miles I drive a day and how many hours of audiobook I get done in that drive time. I was going to film a clip for you and tell you what I read last night, but look at this. So I'm going to I'm going to drive into work first, and then I'll do that because if I oh my god, I can't see. It's so bright. I park directly facing the sun. Oh, this is rough. I'm gonna go drive to work, and then I will tell you about last night. Really quick check-in as I'm heading out to the lake. I've been at work for 3.5 hours, and I just had breakfast, and I'm heading out to the lake. So I did finish like 40% of the book last night, or 30%, because I'm up to 47%. I listened for 5.77 hours, which is a lot of time. I'm absolutely obsessed. I can't really tell you a whole lot because it's the third book, but I didn't get a chance to read any of The Sword of Kaigen. So because I had to film and edit and clean. But tonight I'm hoping to get home in time. Fingers crossed, because we're heading out in the lake to pick some nets, and it's nice out today, so I'll get a little bit of footage for you. Hopefully. I don't know. I'm exhausted. I'm gonna try to drink some caffeine and go on a 45-minute drive up to the lake. It just reset on me, so a 45-minute drive roughly. So I'll be listening to Lotus Empire on my way up, and we'll see how much I get done today. Okay, so check in. Now that I'm done crying over Sword of Kaigen for the evening, jeez. So I read a lot of percent of The Lotus Empire. I was in the car for, the dog just gave me a big huff, I think 4 hours-ish today, according to Google Maps, which I had to go through and calculate it all because it was like, oh, you were in a boat moving, therefore you were driving. So 97 miles I drove today. Yesterday I drove 107 miles. I was in the car a little bit longer today. It took me 48 minutes to go 3 miles. It was rough. It was rough getting home. And then I had another like hour, and it took me 2 hours and 20 minutes to get home today for like 50, I think it's 53 miles to get home. It took me 2 hours and 20 minutes. That first 3 miles took me almost an hour, which is wild. It was ridiculous. So anyway, I listened to so much Lotus Empire, cried a little bit. Things are about to happen. The tragic ending is approaching, and I'm stressed. So, but I'm on track to finish by tomorrow. We'll see when though, because we're going to take a work truck out to the lake tomorrow, so I won't have the hour drive from the office to the lake. Excuse me. And then the 2-hour drive home. I'll just have my like 45-minute drive into the office, and then like by the time we get back to the office and unload everything, and then it'll be like a 45 to an hour drive home, 45 minutes to an hour. So I'll finish the book, but not on my drive to the lake. So I'll have that done tomorrow. I have just read 6% of The Sword of Kaigen. I'm at 64% now. This book is so long, so long, but so good. I am obsessed. It's tragic so far. So I gave a bit of an intro into what's happening in this book in my last weekly yap. So I will do like a short one, but if you want a little bit, or no, I didn't give it there really, did I? I just gave like a 50-second. Okay. Maybe I did it in my first one. Off track. So Sword of Kaigen, has 2 POV characters, Mamoru, and his mother Misaki. Mamoru is a 14-year-old boy. He is training at I can't remember the name of the academy. He's training at this academy. And the way the book is set, it's really interesting because we have kind of this like whole traditional Japanese-inspired kind of culture where the men and the boys are trained to fight, women are subservient housewives, kind of very old school type vibe to it. And so that means like Mamoru is learning to sword fight, and that's mostly what he focuses on. And one day this boy shows up and he's like, everything you're learning in your history class is bullshit. And Mamoru gets like really mad at him, and they have this whole fight, and then he ends up talking to his mom, Misaki, and she's like, you know, maybe you should listen. She's like, I can't really say much against the emperor, but maybe you should listen. There's like a really good quote about it that's like basically, it's essentially like no one ever got stupider from listening to people talk. Like, which sometimes I feel like I do, but basically that he should keep an open mind. And then there's the pacing's kind of weird because then we kind of jump back a little bit into Misaki's backstory and the things that she experienced before she came and married into this family. And she's much more of like an independent person than this tradition allows, but she's married into a very traditional family. Hers is a little bit more like comfortable with her not sticking to standard gender roles, and her father actually teaches her how to use a sword when she's young, and then he sends her to this international academy, but she marries into the Masudas, which are like the strongest warrior family and like known for their skills, and she has to kind of become something she didn't want to become. So we get more of her backstory like unraveled as we go. She has 4 sons, and there's like a 10-year gap between her oldest, Mamoru, and her second oldest, Hiroshi. And then she has Nagasa and Izumi, who's like a baby. And yeah, there is elemental magic in here. So everyone in Kaigen uses water magic. And essentially the people who are in this town that Misaki and her family live in are known as the Sword of Kaigen. They're like the first defense, essentially. And so they are actually more old school, like, than everywhere else in Kaigen, which is interesting because I was like, oh, we're set in the past, and suddenly they were talking about like cell phone type stuff, and I was like, what? It's because this part of the country lives very, very old, like old tradition where the rest of the country is a little bit more advanced. And I was like, hold on, this is actually like modern day / futuristic. What? So it does this big like twist, which is cool. So there's lots of propaganda. We're dealing with a lot of sexism, a lot of misogyny, a lot of propaganda type stuff. The pacing is interesting. I've seen a couple people talk about how the pacing's kind of weird, like the plot flow is kind of weird, and it is kind of weird because we've had only at like 58% in had a huge thing happen. So I'm like, what else is gonna happen? Is something like, are we doing like a this and then a this, or do we do a this and then everything's gonna be like really slow falling like action? No idea what the pacing's going to be like. But yeah, I will say content warning. Earlier in the book, I think around the 25 or 30% mark, there is some pretty intense discussions of a miscarriage and abuse that follows it. Like there's like a lot of emotional abuse in this book from Takeru. Her Misaki's husband is pretty emotionally abusive. He's never physically abusive, but his father physically abuses Misaki. Her father-in-law was abusive to her. Following her miscarriage, and then there's a lot of that like emotional stuff. The miscarriage itself is not graphic, but the emotions that she goes through afterward is graphic. Like it's very explicitly explained her like emotional response to having a miscarriage. We also have death of a child in here, so that is a big thing. There's also a lot of violence. There is a assault, like a sexual assault scene. It's not graphic, but the emotional fallout of it afterward is graphic. I would put this really kind of close to the Poppy War so far, to at least the first book, with how gritty and like grim dark it is, and the fact that this is never like considered in that type of realm when I hear people talk about it is surprising to me. But I would put it pretty close to that. I don't know if it's grim dark because I haven't finished it, but it's pretty dark and pretty brutal, and a lot of things in here are not nice that happen, but the writing is wonderful. So that's my very long check-in about what has been happening and what I've been doing. Will I finish this by Friday? Probably not. But I'm gonna see how far I get. I do have like all day Friday after I get home. I should get home from work kind of early on Friday. I did not get home until 6:50 today. I left the lake at 4:30. I left for work at 7:50 this morning, and I got home from work at 6:50, which kind of sucks, man. So I'm going to read some more and finish my laundry for work tomorrow. So it's Wednesday night. I finished the Jasmine Throne. The last, like, 2.5 hours of it, I think, on my drive into work and my drive home from work today. I didn't have to drive to the lake. I shared a work vehicle, so I didn't listen to my audiobook. Otherwise, I would have started something new. But I am obsessed. I'm broken. I'm, like, destroyed and distraught and also extremely satisfied with how it ended. It's going to be in my top series of the year. Sapphic, also Achillean, also tragic. I wouldn't put it in the romantasy category, because I don't think it really has that happy ever after ending that a romance requires, for one. For two, I think the plot still stands if you remove the romance, and that's kind of like the difference between like romantasy and a romantic fantasy. I will say it does kind of lean towards the romantic fantasy, kind of like in a Kushiel's Dart kind of way, but it's so dark and it's so magical. Everyone is so morally gray and has to make such tough decisions in the end. I wasn't sure how much I cared about Rao in book 1, and by the end of The Oleander Sword, I was like, oh, Rao, I love him so much. I would die for Bhumika and Priya and Seema. Like, all these characters they're just so good. It's so good. I can't say much more because it's the third book in a series, but I will do a chat about the series at some point soon because I am obsessed. I absolutely love it. I really recommend it. I didn't read any of the Sword of Kaigen today. I was out doing field work from 1 to 6:30 today. We got the truck back to the lab with all of our samples at 7:45. I got home at 9 o'clock almost. Fed the dog, walked the dog, showered, ate some dinner, and have been sitting on the couch just trying to relax. I probably burnt my face a little bit. I did put on sunscreen today, but I probably burnt my face a little bit. So I've got a long day in the lab tomorrow. We're starting at 8, processing all the samples we brought back. It's gonna be a long day. So I'm gonna pick something else to listen to, probably start it on the way home tomorrow. I'll probably pick something short so I can finish it in the next 2 days, and I'll check in with you then. Hopefully I'll get some sort of Kaigan reading tomorrow. I've got to book my flight to Scotland, so I'm excited to do that. I got to get that done soon so that I can get in contact with my friend who I'm going to share a ferry with over to Ireland. We're going over for a friend's wedding. It's going to be fun. So I've got to get that done so that I can get in contact with him so he can book the ferry because he's going to drive. Because I don't want to drive in the UK. I just don't. Hello. It's actually light out when I get to come home. Ignore my dirty shirts on the stairs that I just brought out of the car. I finished work kind of early. Kind of. I have to go do some more stuff in a little bit, but I decided to come home and finish up from home. I am going to take the dog for a walk, and then I am going to take a shower and get the fish gunk off of me, and then I'm gonna take a nap. I'm so excited, and then I'm gonna do a bit of work, and then I'm gonna read tonight. That's my plan. I actually it's only 4 o'clock. It's only 4 o'clock. I've been home at like 7, and 9 this week, so 4 o'clock, amazing. Real quick. Oh, let's not look at that corner. That's a work in progress. Real quick. I finished and started a book today. So I started The Brides of High Hill by Nevo. It's the 5th book in the Singing Hills cycle. Actually loved it. Started it on my way into work, finished it on my way home. Little graphic here. This is where we're at for this trapped in the car reading vlog. Today actually wasn't as long because I just had to go to work and back, and so it was about just my normal time, but I did have to go through school zones on my way home, and I timed it terribly, and kids were just getting out of school. So, Brides of High Hill. Real quick, before the dog loses his patience with me. This is, like I said, the 5th book, and so the Singing Hills cycle follows Cleric G, who is a member of the clergy of the Singing Hills, and they travel around and collect people's stories and put the stories into words, all that stuff, and they put them in their archives. So G in this one starts off not really knowing or wanting to talk about where their Nishin bird is, which is like kind of like a little recorder bird. It's the cutest idea. The birds have like a perfect memory, and so they'll like help record the stories. And so G doesn't have oh my god, Almost Brilliant, that's her name, doesn't have Almost Brilliant with them. And that's kind of like, oh, every now and then there are stories without Almost Brilliant. So I was like, what's happening here? And so that's the thing. This is like a gothic horror, which is so good because all the other ones have been like fantasy, and then gothic horror fantasy. And I was like, hell yeah. So we got this like young woman that G is traveling with, and that young woman is about to be married to a 60-year-old man. And her family's really excited about it. Cleric G is not okay with it. And then weird things start happening around the manor, like weird things, and nothing is what it seems. And like, because it is so short, everything happens super quick. And it was great. I loved it. I was like, ooh, this is creepy. Ooh, I like that. Oh, that's why that thing happened. So there's a lot of like those types of little reveals, but the thing I love about Nevo is she does not tell you. It'll just be like, here's a thing that happened, and then a little while later, another thing will happen, and you'll be like, those two things are connected. She doesn't hold your hand, and there's so many new books lately. They've just been holding my hand, and I'm like, I don't need my hand held. I'm grown. So anyway, I really enjoyed it. I think it's up there. I think the first like 2, or the first and the third are my favorites. It's these ones. It's like, I can't remember the names of them, but it's the first one is the Empress of Salt and Fortune, and then I can't remember the third one. Or is it the second one? It's the tiger one. I'll put it up. And then this one, they're definitely my favorites. So really recommend it, especially if you were feeling kind of meh on Mammoths at the Gates, which wasn't my favorite. I really liked this one a lot more. And I think there's a 6th one coming this year, which is why I wanted to go ahead and get this off my plate. Also, I have now finished 2 books that are part of a series this month, and one of them wrapped up the series, and the other one got me caught up to publication. Go me. So excited. Pulled some series off my plate. So me and the dog are gonna go for a walk, and I'll check in with you tomorrow. Hello, it's Friday. It is 75 degrees in my room, but my mop is running downstairs, so I'm in a tank top. I do have clothes on. I realize when I put my hair like this, it looks like I don't, but I do. It's just hot up here. I don't do well. But my mop, like I said, my mop is running downstairs. So I started today on my drive home, which was much shorter today, a prayer for the crown shy on audio. I just kind of got in this, like, I'm going to finish some series, like, mood. And so that's what I'm doing. So loving it. I'm an hour in and I'm like emotional over it. So if you don't know, this is the sequel to a Psalm for the Wild Built. And it's kind of like about not doing everything just to be productive and about kind of healing from that mindset. And I think some people have taken it to be like very nihilistic in its way because it's kind of like, well, what's the point? But it's not really like, what's the point? It's just, what's the point of doing things that you don't enjoy, and how to deal with burnout and how to recover from that, and how it's okay if not every little bit of your day is productive according to society. And I really enjoy that. And so this one is continuing more on that theme, and also a lot about like self and about like what makes you who you are, like what parts of you make you who you are. And so I'm really enjoying it. It's only like a 4-hour audiobook, so I've only got, I think, like an hour and a half left, maybe a little less, maybe an hour and 10 minutes or something like that left of the book. So I'm probably not gonna listen to it today. I'm gonna finish this over the weekend. I'm gonna continue this vlog, and this will be in placement of my weekly wrap. We'll do a weekly vlog. Dog is snoozing. I sent him over there so I could make my bed, because I don't like sitting on my bed when my blankets are all messed up. He's whining at me now because I said dog. So I am going to edit a video I just recorded, get that up, and then I'm gonna read some of the Sword of Kaigen, and I'll check in with you soon. Good morning. My kitchen's a mess, so we're not gonna look at it. It's fine. That counter's okay. I am getting ready I'm feeding the dog, and then I am taking off to Independent Bookstore Day. There is a new bookstore in my town that is opening up, and my friend and I thought we would go check it out because they're doing a soft opening today. There's another bookstore opening up too, but that one's not coming until June, and they're not doing anything for Independent Bookstore Day except posting about how they're on Libro FM and Bookshop. And I feel kind of weird about that because like they don't have a physical, like they have their physical space, but they don't have any stock, and they're not like, I don't know. They don't even have an opening date. Like they're hoping for June, but so I don't know. I didn't know that was a thing that you could do before your business was open. So, yeah. But we're gonna go check out this one. It is called Boondock Books, and it is spelt in the Tagalog way. The owner put up on her Instagram the background of the story. It's a Tagalog word for mountain, and since we live in the Pacific Northwest, where we have, you can't see her from here, but Mount Rainier is over there, everyone uses it in their name, but this is kind of a fresh take on the way to use it. And she's also Filipina, so she said that it was like a way to like weave the two things together, and I thought that was kind of cool because the other one is just your standard, it uses pine in the name because it's the Pacific Northwest and everyone's using pine or spruce or Rainier. We love our mountain and we love our forests. So we're very predictable out here. My hair is doing something this morning. Anyway, the dog's eggs are cooking. They're near. I gotta flip them and put them in his pan. His little yogurt bowl. So he's gonna have his little yogurt breakfast. If I can hide my mess. He's hiding over there. So anyway, then I'm gonna come home and I'm gonna clean my kitchen. So, but I am going to, whoop, there's the mess. Going to read a bit of a prayer for the crown shy on my way to the bookstore. I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to bring my Kindle with me in case I go sit somewhere else today too. Trying to leave here soon, so I'll talk to you in a bit. I picked up a couple of blind books while I was out today, so I thought I would show you what the little like hints are for each of them. I picked up a blind manga and a blind horror. You can definitely pause to read the little back of it here. I was completely unsure what this was at all. So he just finished his breakfast and now he's in his like pet me, love me, but also don't be near me. It's very odd. It's why we work so well. So apologies if you can hear that motorcycle revving at the stoplight by my house. Okay, he's gone. Okay, so let me show you what I got. I went in with this like goal. I was like, I'm just gonna get shelf trophies. I'm just gonna get shelf trophies because my TBR is too long for what I am comfortable with, and I am trying to get it down. So I picked up at the first bookstore, I picked up the Serviceberry. This is a new bookstore that is opening and they weren't on the list, but they decided to do a soft opening for Independent Bookstore Day, which I think is a great idea. They are, I believe I heard them say that they are a queer-owned bookstore too, which I think is fantastic and much needed in this area. I was very excited. I didn't take any videos because the store was kind of small and crowded, but I thought it was really cool because there was someone there with a child who was in a mobility assistant device, and she actually was able to like move around, but one of the owners was like, hey, do you mind if I ask kind of a personal question? I'm trying to make sure the accessibility in here is like acceptable. Can you let me know if there's anything that needs to change? And so then they had like a little conversation and that I didn't listen to because it's not my place, but I was like, that's so cool that he's like, hey, can we like check in and make sure? And I thought that was awesome. So I picked this up there. I read this as an ARC back in November. It's a little teeny tiny book by Robin Wall Kimmerer, who wrote Braiding Sweetgrass. Love this. This was so healing right after the election is when I read it. I want to read it again, and I'll put a link in the description because she wrote this originally as an essay, which is publicly available on the website for the magazine. Sorry, the dog, I need to cut his nails. She wrote it as an essay, and so the short version of this is available as a free link for an essay. So I will put that up if you want to read it. And then if you like it, you can check out the Serviceberry, which is really, really good. And I love the illustrations in here as well. Then we went to a local store that's been around for a while and was actually on the crawl, and it was really, again, really crowded. Didn't take any videos or anything, but I love going into that bookstore and seeing what they have. They're always got a good fantasy section and a good sci-fi section, and the people there are so great. So I picked up some shelf trophies. I picked up All Systems Red because I saw new covers were announced and I want to get the old covers. So I picked this one up. It's the only one they had in hardcover, so I'm going to be looking for the other ones. I'm nearly done with this series. I have one book left, and then I don't know if that's the end or if there's more coming. I don't know how I feel about the show that's coming up. I don't know how I feel, okay? I will figure out how I feel at some point. Maybe I'll watch it just to review it, but I don't have Apple TV, so we'll figure it out. And then I found a copy of The Tainted Cup. Yes, I really wanted the hardback, but I will take the paperback because I love this cover so much. I read this in January. It was my first 5-star of the year. Looking forward to the sequel. They had the sequel, but they had it in hardback, and I was like, I want to wait. So if I'm going to buy this one, I want the hardback, or I want the sequel in paperback, not hardback. And I want to get it from the library first, make sure I still enjoy the series. Like, I loved this one, and a lot of people said the second one is even better. So, like, people were like, oh my god, it's somehow even better. So then the two other things I got were some blind books. I did pick up a copy of the graphic novelization of Wings of Fire for my cousin's son. So, who I've kind of like, I'm just including him with my rest of my nephews. There's a lot of boys in the next generation. There was a lot of girls in my generation, and now there's like a ton of boys in the next one. It's kind of interesting. Anyway, I picked up some blind books. This one was like something like A Mountain of Debt, A Unique Pet, and a Power That Will Rip Apart the Fabric of the Universe. And it's Chainsaw Man, which is great, actually, because I was debating owning this series. I enjoyed the first arc. It's silly. It is over the top, but I kind of enjoyed it for that. So I actually got this cheaper than it sells for on the price on the back. It says $9.99 on the back. I got it for $7.99 because it was in a blind book grab. So it probably means someone traded it in used, but still, love that for me. Hugan, you're okay. He's doing his whistle squeak. If you hear something that sounds like a bird, it's my dog. The other one I got had a weird long description, and I've actually never heard of it, so I looked it up. I'm not sure how I feel about it. It's called The Edge of Sleep. It is the novelization of a podcast. It says the hit Q Code podcast is now an original novel, and then this novel became a TV show starring Markiplier, I guess. I literally don't know who he is. My oldest nephew talks about him all the time, and I'm like, child, I have no idea who you're talking about. And then my sister-in-law was like, yeah, I teach she was teaching 3rd and 4th graders, so she was like, oh, I went and watched a bunch of his videos so I could make references because the kids love him. And I was like, literally not my side of the internet. So but apparently the main people that give this 5 stars are the people who love him, and the people who gave it less than that are the people who don't know who the fuck these people are. So this is excuse me, this is about the whole town falls asleep apparently, and people who have sleep disorders stay awake, and if they fall asleep they'll die, but it says that the only solution is in the one man's dreams. So I don't know. It also says a quiet coastal town in California. I do love things that are coastal, but I don't know, the vibes don't seem like my vibes, but we'll find out. Okay, and then I went to the thrift store. I love my thrift store, and I picked up some things, some books for $1. I think I spent $7 on books. Most of them I gave to my cousin's kids when I went over there to see my horse. My cousin is staying with my mom, so I went over to see my horse and gave the books to the kids. Picked up a book for my mom too. So I did pick up Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I had picked this one up last time too, but I couldn't remember if I got the 1818 one or the other one. So I picked up this one because I was like, it's $1, whatever. I can give it to someone. Then I picked up a book I loved when I was a kid, The Black Stallion and Flame by Walter Farley. This was my favorite of the series of the Black Stallion books. I loved these. These were like one of my intros to reading. And so I picked this one up, and it's like the one that I read from the library, like the same cover, and I just love this color. I may try to get, and it has like some kid's name written on it. I may try to get like a book press and paint the edges like the same color as this, just because I think that would be fun. But yeah, so this is one of the early publications. There's the list of all the books. This is copyright 1960. That's what it says here. So I don't know if this is the 1961 or if that's just the original copyright, but yeah, very excited. It has like the old kind of yellowed pages. So anyway, that's what I got for Independent Bookstore Day. I finished yesterday A Prayer for the Crown Shy. I won't be starting an audiobook today. I'm gonna finish The Sword of Kaigan, which I've read a lot of last night. But I really, really enjoyed A Prayer for the Crown Shy. I think it was really good. I do like that it's like, we could continue following these characters if Becky Chambers, is it Becky Chambers? Please let it be Becky Chambers. If she feels like writing more, we could continue this series, but it's also fine to just kind of end it there. So I like that, and I enjoyed it. It was a good little listen throughout my driving yesterday, and I've got an hour and a half left for The Sword of Kaigan. So that's my goal. It is, see what time it is? It's 11 a.m. It's 11 a.m. So I'll probably be able to finish it in the next little bit because my boyfriend usually doesn't wake up till later. So I'm gonna sit on the couch and I'm gonna read, and I'll check in with you when I'm done. All right, am I wearing what I was wearing at the intro? Yes. But that's because I am just finishing everything up now. I finished I finished The Sword of Kaigan this morning and absolutely loved it. I have some like small issues with some things that happen. It's like a soft 5, a 4.75, but I was like invested, everything. My main takeaway, and I think I'm gonna do like a individual review of this video, or this book. Man, I am struggling to talk today. My main takeaway is how much ML Wong has improved as a writer between the two books, between her 2 adult books, because everything else she's written has been YA. And between The Sword of Kaigan and Blood over Brighthaven, I think her writing has just like dramatically improved. Her character development, her character creation, the voice of the characters, everything has really improved. I mean, Sword of Kaigan is already, it's solid. It's a great adult debut, a fantastic book, especially for being independently published. Like, girl, stunning. But Blood over Brighthaven is like steps above that. It's just such a good book. So this is my plug for both of those. So let's see, what did I read this week? Let's talk about it briefly. We'll wrap it up. I finished 4 books this week. So 2 I had started previously. I started The Lotus Empire last Sunday, a week ago, and I managed to finish it on like Wednesday, I believe. I finished The Lotus Empire. Beautiful. No notes. Thursday, I read The Brides of High Hill, which is the 5th book in the Singing Hill cycle. Friday and Saturday, I spread it over 2 days because I just wasn't in the car very much. I read A Prayer for the Crown Shy, which is the sequel to A Psalm for the Wild Built. Both are great little kind of hopeful novellas that hard recommend. And then today I finished The Sword of Kaigan. I think I finished a solid 250 pages of it this week. I read 100 pages or 110 pages or something like that today. Because it was just, I was at the end and I just was like, oh, I need this ending. So I sat on the couch for like an hour and a half and finished that this morning. I'm surprised how quickly I finished the last like 100 pages, but really, really good. As someone with a full-time, very busy job who had a very social day yesterday, as well as have already spent, it's like 3 o'clock, it's almost 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I've spent time with my boyfriend, I've made food, I've taken the dog for a walk, I've cleaned a bit. I'm gonna go upstairs and do more cleaning and prep for my next busy week. So I think I might do this again for next week. I am going to try and finish A Day of Fallen Night is my main goal for audiobooks. I'm going to try and finish A Day of Fallen Night, and I'm going to start A Study in Black Brew, which is an independently published sci-fi novel by Marie Howalt. novella, sorry, by Marie Howald. Really enjoyed the other book I read from this author and looking forward to the arc of this one. So I will talk to you about that sometime soon. Thanks for sticking around with me. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you soon with something else.